The first sighting came on a cold, misty morning. Jake McAllister, a seasoned ranger with 20 years of experience patrolling the vast, rugged trails of the Cascades, stumbled upon an odd scene near the edge of a dense forest. A fresh deer carcass lay sprawled across the clearing, its innards scattered and steam still rising from the gory display. Jake's stomach churned. He had seen wolf kills before, but nothing quite like this. The sheer brutality, the power needed to disembowel such a large animal, left him uneasy. As he studied the scene, his eyes caught a set of tracks nearby, each paw print larger than his own hand. They were deeper and wider than any tracks he'd ever seen, too large to be those of an ordinary wolf. His heart pounded in his chest, a primal fear stirring deep within him. Jake took a photo of the tracks with his phone, and with a quick, nervous glance over his shoulder, he made his way back to his truck, feeling the weight of unseen eyes following his every step. Within hours, Jake's photo had made its way to his superiors, and by nightfall, it was circulating through local wildlife departments and beyond. Experts scratched their heads, debating the possibilities. Some said it was just a bear, others speculated a lost wolf from another region, but Jake's description of the kill site and the size of the tracks cast doubt on these theories. The following day, more reports came in. A group of hikers found a mangled elk carcass, another lone camper discovered mauled beyond recognition. Rumors spread like wildfire. The talk of an enormous wolf stalking the forests of the Cascades soon filled the airwaves, with local news channels running segments on the mystery predator. They showed Jake's photo repeatedly, the grainy image of the massive paw print becoming synonymous with fear. As the days turned to weeks, the sightings became more frequent and closer to populated areas. Residents of small mountain communities reported strange sounds at night, howling so deep and mournful it seemed to rattle windows. Pets began to disappear. First, a few cats, then larger dogs, vanishing without a trace. Panic started to set in. One night, a young woman named Maria Lopez, living on the outskirts of Monroe, Washington, was woken by the frantic barking of her German shepherd, Duke. She groggily made her way to the living room, noticing that Duke was standing by the sliding glass door, his hackles raised, a low growl rumbling in his throat. Maria peered into the darkness, the dense forest behind her house looming like a black wall. For a moment, she saw nothing. Then, her breath caught in her throat. Two yellow eyes, glowing like embers, stared back at her from the shadows just beyond the porch light's reach. The eyes were set high, too high for any normal animal. A massive shape began to emerge, slowly stepping into the light, revealing the hulking form of a wolf like nothing Maria had ever seen. It was larger than Duke by far, its fur dark and matted, its eyes locked onto hers with an intelligence that was almost human. Duke's growling escalated into barking as he launched himself at the glass door, trying to get at the intruder. Maria stumbled back, her heart racing. The wolf's lips curled into a snarl, revealing teeth the size of small daggers. For a brief moment, Maria felt like prey caught in the predator's gaze. Then, with a low growl, the wolf turned and melted back into the shadows, leaving Maria shaking and terrified. By the next morning, the story had reached the news. Maria's account, paired with the previous sightings, caused a wave of fear to wash over the entire region. The story spread to the major networks, and soon, all of Seattle was buzzing with talk of the dire wolf of the Cascades. Some dismissed it as hysteria, a tale blown out of proportion by a few overactive imaginations, but others weren't so sure. Local authorities increased patrols, setting up traps and issuing warnings to hikers and campers to avoid the backcountry. Hunters took to the woods, rifles in hand, eager for a chance at bagging the beast. But the wolf was smart, elusive. It moved with the precision of a ghost, never staying in one place for long, always watching from the shadows. Then, one foggy evening, it finally made its move. The streets of North Bend were quiet, the mist rolling down from the mountains blanketing the town in an eerie silence. Kevin and Lisa Summers were returning from a late dinner with friends when they heard it, a low, resonating growl that seemed to vibrate through the fog. Kevin froze, hand tightening around Lisa's arm. They turned, eyes straining to pierce the gloom, and there it was, the massive silhouette of the wolf standing in the middle of the street, yellow eyes glowing with malevolence. "Get in the car," Kevin whispered, his voice shaking. But before they could move, the wolf lunged, covering the distance between them in a heartbeat. Kevin shoved Lisa aside, throwing himself in front of her as the beast collided with him, its jaws snapping shut inches from his face. He felt the wolf's hot breath and the weight of its massive body pressing him down. He tried to scream, but no sound came out. Lisa scrambled for the car, fumbling with her keys, hands shaking so violently she could barely hold them. Kevin's strangled cries filled the air, a sound that would haunt her for the rest of her life. Just as the wolf's teeth were about to close around his throat, a blinding light swept over them, and the blare of a car horn shattered the silence. A passing truck had come around the corner, its headlights illuminating the terrifying scene. The wolf hesitated, its eyes flicking to the new threat, and then, with a snarl, it turned and bolted into the fog, disappearing as quickly as it had appeared. Kevin was left on the ground, bloodied but alive, his eyes wide with shock and terror. Lisa dragged him to the safety of the car, locking the doors, both of them shaking, trying to make sense of what had just happened. The attack sparked a frenzy. News crews descended on North Bend, and authorities issued a citywide curfew. Armed patrols roamed the streets at night, searching for any sign of the beast. Fear gripped Seattle like a vice. Schools canceled evening classes, businesses closed early, and the streets emptied at sundown. Despite the increased vigilance, the wolf remained elusive. It struck at random, always in the cover of darkness, always just out of reach. More sightings followed, each one adding to the growing legend of the dire wolf. A shadow that could not be caught, a terror that would not be tamed. People spoke in hushed tones about the creature, whispering theories about its origin. Some claimed it was a spirit, the vengeful ghost of a wolf that had once roamed these lands before civilization encroached. Others said it was an ancient relic, a surviving member of a prehistoric species. A few whispered of curses and dark magic, of a creature that had been summoned from the depths of the mountains to punish those who dared to invade its territory. Whatever the truth, one thing was clear, the dire wolf was real, and it was not going away. Days turned to weeks, and the terror of the dire wolf became a part of life in Seattle. People adapted, as they always do, finding ways to live with the fear. Children were told stories of the wolf to keep them indoors after dark, and adults exchanged nervous jokes over drinks at bars that now closed far earlier than they once did. The dire wolf of the Cascades had become a part of the city's identity, a dark legend whispered in the quiet hours of the night. And though the patrols continued, and the hunters hunted, the wolf remained a ghost, always watching, always waiting. Because somewhere, in the darkness of the forest, beyond the reach of man, the wolf still prowled, its eyes glowing with a cunning intelligence, a reminder that some shadows can never be caught, and some fears can never be tamed.